call to order the meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge for March 8th, 2021, regular meeting at 6:30 p.m. I ask the residents to stand in silent prayer and then flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, statement of compliance with Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 8th of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website, and filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. We are also doing a virtual meeting as per our resolutions and executive order and guidance from the state of New Jersey. If there's a member of the public who, at the time that we open for the public, would like to speak, Councilwoman Kaufman will moderate that. She will either see a raised hand on a device that's capable of that, or *9 on a device that's not capable of raising a hand. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Here.
Councilman Canico?
Here.
Councilman Godier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Here.
And Councilwoman Cohen?
Here.
Okay, we have next on the agenda approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the mayor and council regular meeting of February 22nd, 2021. Could I have our council president Canigo and Bastide move in second?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Councilman Canico?
Yes.
Councilman Godier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen?
Yes.
All right, next we open for public comments on any item of the agenda that is only on the agenda. Could I have Councilman Godier and Councilwoman Kaufman move and second?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Councilman Canico?
Yes.
Councilman Godier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen?
Yes.
All right, we're moving right along. Now we move to appointment and personnel changes. After I read it into the record, could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and move and Councilwoman Kinsella second? So we have three items, A, B, and C. First, approve the resignation of Patricia Mastro Pasquala, substitute crossing guard effective March 1st, 2021. B, approve the job title and salary change of Anthony Neiman, Department of Public Works, Laborer 2, Step 3, salary of $47,786 to Equipment Operator 2, Step 1, $64,603, effective March 8th. C, approve the salary change of Jason Melito, Superintendent of Public Works, Step 2, salary of $135,000, $135,004.60 to a step of $142,210.40, effective March 11th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Councilman Canico?
Yes.
Councilman Godier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen?
Yes.
I have to apologize. I just realized we opened for comments on the agenda and I did not hand it over to Councilman Kaufman, and we did not close. Councilman Kaufman, is there anyone present?
There is one person. So if you have a question, raise your hand or just type it in the chat box, either or. Do not appear to be any questions.
All right, then. Could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Councilman Gaudier second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Knigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
All right, we are up to item number 9, ordinances, first reading. We have several ordinances, 21-8, 21-9, and 21-10 and 21-11. So 4 ordinances. I ask our borough administrator to simply set the stage for the public's edification on what we're doing on these 4 ordinances before they are moved.
Yes, ordinance 21-8 is an ordinance to remove a handicap parking spot in front of a home. That is the only one that was in the books. The person who had the spot had passed away, so there's no need for that spot to still remain with such a designation. Ordinances 21-9 and 21-10 are to codify positions in our ordinances. This is following along with what we've done with the tax collector. 21-9 affects the offices of the borough clerk and deputy clerk. 21-10 affects the office of the borough administrator. And 21-11 is an ordinance to prohibit illicit connections to the municipal storm water sewer system. And this is an ordinance required by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay, before we move or second any of these, Mr. Sarlo, if you could please comment on 21-8 and what we're going to do and what we might do either now or later, depending on what is the will of council.
21-8, you have an ordinance on the books that allows you to grant a public handicap, an on-street handicap parking space for a private residence. So if somebody lives at 123 Cherry Hill Lane and they want a handicap spot on the street, the ordinance allows you to grant that person the spot. That spot is now reserved for them, and pretty much they can only use it. We've only had one in the last couple of years, and that's the one that you granted. I don't know if you've all seen the email from Lieutenant Walker. I agree with Lieutenant Walker on the points that he makes. And that's pretty much, the person doesn't need to move their car at night, don't need to move it during a snowstorm. And it can open up, once you give it for one, it'll be hard to give it for everybody, or hard to say no to everybody. So, yeah, we've had instances, where, or if somebody, you'd have to do it on a case-by-case basis. Does the person really need it? Are they just looking for another parking spot? Do they have a driveway that they could park? Things like that. Your alternative is you can eliminate the ordinance altogether. And if you eliminate the ordinance altogether, then obviously nobody, you won't have to run into the situation. You gave it to this one, but you did not give it to that one. So you certainly can, and I believe that's what Lieutenant Walker was looking to potentially have you guys consider doing, was eliminating the ordinance to avoid this situation going forward. So right now we're eliminating the spot because it's no longer needed by the residents. You can keep the ordinance on the books and then review an application on a case-by-case basis, amend the ordinance to include that spot, or we can just eliminate the ordinance in its entirety.
So at this point, I'll go with our council president first. Council President Kanigo, do you have any thoughts or comments in this regard? And just for the council, so I can set the stage, we're considering one of two things. We are either considering what we have currently in front of us, 21-8, which would be to simply eliminate that spot, or as an option, we could, before we move it, amend it so that we just remove the ordinance, which would be section 400-38, handicap parking. And therefore, as our borough attorney has recommended and our one of our lieutenants has recommended. It is the will of the council. There is no pressure on either side, but setting just the stage for what the council thinks would be best. Council President Kanigo.
And before Council President, I don't have Lieutenant Walker's email. He made good points. I don't know who was on that email chain, but if you want to read his email into the record, that may help the rest of the council members it's coming from a police standpoint.
Councilman Kanigo, do you have a copy of that one?
Yeah, I do. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Sorry, bear with me.
Absolutely.
Let me look.
I must have responded to it, so it's not popping up immediately. Just give me a second.
I might be able to find it too. I'm looking at the same time.
Yeah, I'm looking now myself on my phone.
I have it available if you want me to forward it to anyone.
Well, how about, could you read it? Would you mind reading it?
No, not at all. And do you just want me to read the entirety email or just his concerns?
I think it's concerned so the mayor and council can understand.
Okay. There's 6. The first one, handicap parked cars are not restricted to time limits or days of the week once they park. So a car can literally park in the spot for days, weeks, however long. The second, this would affect street cleaning, leaf pickup, and snow removal. Third, once the door is open, I'm not sure how you would be able to say no to certain requests and yes to others. Fourth, the apartment complexes south of Howland could present a huge concern. 5, the cost of installing signs, painting roadways, and maintaining same needs to be considered. Last, what happens when the space is no longer needed? If it just remains, it will actually take up a space for other residents. That was just.
Council President, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe that the police is asking us to consider removing this ordinance from our books, and the reasons are valid. Also, I would imagine DPW would say the same thing based on the concerns. So I would move to amend once the council has all spoken, but I certainly have no problem moving to amend to vacate the ordinance in its entirety.
Councilwoman Bastide, comments, thoughts?
Thank you. Just even though, and maybe this is a question for our borough attorney, but even though the space was permitted in front of a single resident home, anyone with a handicap placard could park there, correct?
No, you're dedicating that spot to that resident.
I thought that when we made this decision way back when, that we did it with eyes open, that anyone with a placard could park in that spot, but either here nor there, I would take the recommendation of the River Edge Police Department and the DPW to remove the ordinance, this section from the ordinance. I don't have any other comments. Thanks, Mayor.
Welcome. Councilman Gordier, comments, thoughts?
I'm fine with that, Mayor.
Right. Councilwoman Kaufman, thoughts, comment?
I'm okay with removing it. When is it from, the original rule?
Well over, I remember it when I first came on the council, so it's more than 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe.
Councilwoman Kaufman, any thoughts, comments?
I'm okay with removing it.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen. Thoughts, ideas?
I'm okay with removing it as well. I'm okay removing it as well, as per the police department's comments.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
I agree. I'm okay with removing it as well.
Mr. Sarlo, how do we proceed?
You are not going to move that ordinance, and we will prepare a new ordinance. You're not going to introduce that ordinance, so we could just skip over it, and we'll prepare a new ordinance for next meeting, repealing that section of the
Very good.
code book.
All right, so without objection, we will pass over 21-8, and Mr. Sarlo will prepare a new ordinance. Does Mr. Sarlo, Ms. Apertola and Ms. Evans, does that mean we need to renumber the other ordinances going forward, or do we just call the next one 21-9 as currently printed? Why don't we vote to table? Does that make sense, vote to table?
That's fine, Mayor.
All right, so Councilman Kenigo and would you please move to table with a support or a second from Councilwoman Kaufman?
So moved.
Second,
It has been moved to table. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes,
Okay, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen for ordinance 21-9, an ordinance to amend chapter 65, the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge entitled Officers and Employees?
So moved.
second.
It has been moved and seconded. It is now open for debate before we vote. Is there a debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman,
Yes,
Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman with a second from Councilwoman Bastide for ordinance 21-10, an ordinance to amend chapter 65 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of River Edge entitled Officers and Employees?
So moved.
Second.
It has now been moved and seconded. We are open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
yes,
All right, could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Council President Kenigo second ordinance 2111, an ordinance of the Borough of River Edge amending and supplementing chapter 342 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge prohibiting illicit connections to the municipal storm water sewer system?
so moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We are open to debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes item number 9, ordinance first readings. We are now on agenda item number 10, second readings, hearings on ordinances. So we will be opening to the public, then closing to the public, and then move to adopt. So could I have Councilwoman, oh no, I'm sorry. Before we read it and move it, could our Borough Administrator, Ms. Apatola, please explain to the public the purpose of this ordinance?
Yes, both ordinances, 21-6 and 21-7, are part of the borough's temporary capital budget, and they're both bond ordinances. The first one is a bond ordinance for the milling and paving of Continental Avenue, of which the borough will receive a grant in the amount of $400,000 to offset the cost. And the second one is more of a multi-purpose function for the repair of the sanitary sewer and storm sewer on Manchester, and to have funding for emergency sewer repairs. That would be a capital expenditure.
Okay, so we will be moving them one at a time. So as I said, if Councilwoman Kinsella can move and Councilman Gaudier second, after I finish reading this. Ordinance 21-6, bond ordinance to authorize the improvement of Continental Avenue from Elm to Millbrook in and by and for the borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $609,000 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate a state grant, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. We are opening to the public with these motions.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. This is non-debatable. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Kaufman, if there is someone who is ready, or if there's a star 9, please moderate this portion of the meeting.
So if anyone has a question, raise your hand or a comment. And we will call on you. I don't think there is a question.
All right, could I have Councilwoman Kaufman move and Councilman Gaudier second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we are now moving towards adoption. Could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Councilwoman Bastood second to adopt ordinance 21-6?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, so we now move to ordinance 21-7. Could I have Councilwoman Kinsella move and Council President Kanigo second after I finish and this is to open to the public, after I finish reading the ordinance. Ordinance 21-7, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in and by and for the borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $400,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide the issuance of bond and anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, is not debatable. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Cohen.
yes,
I surrender the meeting to Councilwoman Kaufman, our moderator.
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak or type it in the chat box. I do not see any questions.
All right, could I have Councilman Gaudier move and Councilwoman Montesanto Cohen second to close to the public?
So moved.
second,
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
yes,
Okay, could I have Councilwoman Kaufman move and Council President Kanigo second for adoption of Ordinance 21-7?
So moved.
Second.
It is open for debate. It has been moved and seconded. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
yes,
Okay, we're going to move as a block on resolutions after we table a resolution. I'm going to ask the council to consider tabling resolution 21-98 if our BA, Ms. Apertola, could speak to that.
Yes, 2198 is to be removed because the borough does not advertise for bids of the leasing purchase of police cars or public works trucks. We utilize either state contract or various cooperatives. For example, we have 2 resolutions to join cooperatives on this agenda. And to advertise for garbage removal, we do it jointly with New Milford, and we're currently under contract for that. And further, bids are to be advertised in a daily paper, which would be The Record. The Ridgewood News is a subsidiary weekly paper falling under North Jersey Media, who owns The Record. So this resolution is not applicable at this time.
Okay, could I have a motion to table from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilwoman Bastoud, and then we'll be open for debate or discussion about tabling it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any comment, debate, or inquiry?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Gaudier.
I would just like to ask Ms. Apertella, the way we do things, it's because it's the most cost effective. Is that correct?
Yes, it's by using a cooperative system or state contract, it is pooled within the membership. So it's like buying in bulk, you'll get the better price.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other inquiry, debate, or comment? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastoud,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
yes,
Okay, so I'd like to move as a block 21-90 through 21-97, 21 including, and then 2199 through 21-100. Could I have Council President Kanigo move and Councilwoman Montesanto Cohen second?
I just, Sorry, I had a quick question about two of them.
Okay, and that's my fault. I should have said, are there any questions or debate? Which ones, so before we do that, Councilwoman Kaufman, which one would you like to start with?
I just had a quick question about 2191 and 2192. Just was wondering what those were for.
Absolutely. Ms. Apertola.
Yes, the Hunterdon County Educational Services Commission is a cooperative group where they have everything from vehicles, equipment, playgrounds. So as part of doing research for cost-effective measures of borough purchases, we could utilize that. And Cranford Police Cooperative Pricing System would, depending on the type of vehicle that the police department needs, they may find a better price or greater availability than going through state contract, as well as any other equipment that they may have, but this is strictly related to police operations.
So the Cranford Co-op is able to get better pricing than the state contract?
It is possible.
Okay.
It's possible. That way we have more opportunity to shop around and compare.
That was it for me.
Anyone else? So just for the public's edification, this does not bind us to using this cooperative. This affords us the ability to use it, not requires us.
That is correct. In order for us to take advantage of the pricing, we have to be members, but it does not bind us to anything.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so to repeat, we're going to move 2190 through 97, then 2199 and 100. And I think I asked Council President Kinigo to move and Councilwoman Montesano-Cohen to second.
So moved.
Second.
This is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving right along. This is lovely. So now we're up to payment of the bills 21-101. And could I ask our finance chair to move and a member of council to second the payment of bills?
At a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on March 8, 2021, be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current account, $243,897.14. Capital account, $36,293. Animal control account, $150. Trust other account, $27,419.90. Open space account, $765. Developers escrow account, $3,795.83. Self-insurance trust account, $248.24. So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, now we have five items under, five sub-items under new business, agenda item 13. Our first is item A, passage of law legalizing marijuana. I'll ask our borough attorney, Mr. Sarlo, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. I sent you guys a quick summary in an email, and I also sent you a PowerPoint that the league put out that I thought would be helpful. I wanted to, you don't need to make a decision tonight if you don't want to. You certainly can. However, I wanted to at least bring it to your attention and get the ball rolling because you have until August 21st to make a decision as to what you would like to do. There's really three things the borough can do at this point. You can pass an ordinance before August 21st prohibiting any type of license in the borough. There are 6 types of licenses that can be granted. 6 types of classes, licenses: cultivator, manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retailer, and delivery service. So you can pass an ordinance prohibiting all of it. At any point in time, you can opt in. So you have that ability. You also can prepare an ordinance allowing any type of these, not all of them, or some of the licenses, retail, wholesale, and manufacturer, the type of licenses, the number of licenses, where it can be sold or developed in your town, the districts. You certainly can do that. If you do pass an ordinance with regard to that, you cannot pass another ordinance, or you cannot prohibit it for another 5 years. And at that point, if you do prohibit it, anything that was already granted, any license is grandfathered in. You can just prospectively deny further licenses going forward. And the last thing the borough can do is do nothing. And I strongly suggest you don't do that. Because if you do nothing, then it is all licenses are allowed, and it's allowed in your commercial retailer, and you don't have any say where you can certainly put it. So I would suggest either you're going to prohibit it or you're going to allow it. And if you're going to allow it in certain areas, that would need further discussion. That may need discussion with your planner as to where it would best be suited, and so forth like that. Benefit to the town, obviously, is taxes. It's 2% on anything that is, if let's say, just say for retail, it's 2% for anything that is sold. You know, an ounce of marijuana right now is going for about 200, depending on the strain, it'd be $150 to $250. Recreational may be the same, maybe actually a little bit more. So I believe a individual can purchase up to 5 ounces. So it can have a pretty significant tax impact, positive to the borough. That's really it. If you have any questions, you can't restrict delivery service. So if somebody in your town orders it, you can't restrict it being delivered to them. There is a lot of issues on enforcement that really does not concern the governing body right now. It's more on the police side of it. I don't want to get into it because I understand there's going to be further amendments to it. But right now, just so you're aware, if there's a minor and the minor is either smoking or has alcoholic beverages, somehow they included alcoholic beverages in public, an officer can give them a written warning, but he cannot notify the parents. He gives them some pamphlets. It's interesting because the smoking and marijuana is prohibited under the ordinance or under the statute in public, but it's not for the minors. So it says you specifically cannot arrest the minor. You have to just give him a written warning. And there are certain other things where the officer can be liable and can be charged criminally if he doesn't do certain things. I'm hoping that gets shaked out from some of the people I know in the Senate.
Mr. Sarlo, you're frozen and we no longer can hear you. You're still frozen. The last we heard is, some people in the Senate or understand.
They're working on.
All right, Mr. Sarlo, I'm sure his internet will catch up. If I could
if I become unfrozen.
Okay.
Good.
We're going to give you a moment,
Okay.
Mr. Sarlo. I'm going to set parameters if we could, and then we'll see if your
Go ahead.
internet comes back strong. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to set some parameters for us. I would ask that we not debate the law enforcement issue, since that's really a Senate issue, and we don't have any authority over that. So I'm asking us as a body at this time not to. Now, we may get recommendations from Lieutenant Walker and Lieutenant Casey about a resolution that we might send to the Senate. But Lieutenant Casey and Lieutenant Walker have not yet sent such a recommendation to us, and I would not want for the council to presume what they might advise us to do. So I'm going to recommend to this council that we not debate the enforcement issue since we don't have any authority and it is not our area. It's not germane to us at this moment. What I am going to recommend to this council is that we consider, and I want Mr. Sarlo to weigh in on this, that we consider the first option of asking him to develop an ordinance to prohibit all licenses. Now, the reason I'm recommending that at this early stage, we have until August 31st, is that if I understand, and Mr. Sarlo can comment on this, we have the power to opt back in if we should choose to do so, and if the public, if the residents of River Edge should, try to encourage us to do that. And we would have more time for debate on that later. But I think right now the safest course of action is for us to develop a ordinance to prohibit all licenses, especially because if we start considering some licenses versus others with the 5-year guarantee for those licenses and the grandfathering, this may not be something that the council would properly consider given the little amount of information. In general, I should tell you that I as mayor am opposed to licenses in River Edge, and I think if you wish to say you are, you aren't, that's fine. But I think when it comes to prudence and practicality, the best course of action is for us to consider the prohibition. Mr. Sarlo, was
Yes.
I correct in that we could opt back in at any time and that this would be a more efficient way of proceeding?
Yeah, absolutely. You can opt in at any point in time. If you're so any license, anybody that's going for a license needs to put on their application where they're going to, has to be, and then once the license is sent to the state commission is going to send it to the borough and make sure you have, they comply with all of your local ordinances. So yes, at any point in time, if you opt out, obviously no one's going to put down River Edge as a place if they found a location. If you opt back in and then you set controls, yes, then that application. So by opting out, you would not probably the first round of licenses, I'm going to say, because people are starting to get their licenses, applications already going. So you probably would miss, if you really want to do it, you'd probably miss the first round of licenses. And then you would, those applicants can consider River Edge. But yes, the answer to your question is you can opt in at any time.
Okay. Any member, let's start with our council president. Let's start, Council President Kenigo. Any questions, comments, inquiries?
If we decide to opt out and then we want to opt back in, will we have the option to opt back in piecemeal? Or will the opt-in be an all or nothing?
When you say piecemeal.
There's 6 categories, you said, right?
Yes.
So if we decide to opt back in, but only allow retail as an example, or only allow cultivation as an example, will we be allowed to opt back in for only the cultivation as opposed to the rest, or will that be a all or nothing opt back in?
No, if you opt back in, you can limit what licenses you want to give. You can limit how many licenses, and you can restrict in what zones you would like those licenses to participate in.
All right, I guess my comment would be this. This is all very new to us, but we saw that with the referendum, it was overwhelmingly voted in New Jersey. And it seems to be a national trend in any case. I'm of the belief that we need some help with taxes in this town. I think a lot of other people in this town are, and we should not just turn away an opportunity to possibly make a lot of money in our town if that comes our way. That being said, I understand the mayor's point about we can opt out for now and then take our time to decide. But before I voted for that option, I'd want to make sure that we had some sort of roadmap to at least investigating all these things, putting our planner on notice that we need opinions sooner rather than later, and revisiting this subject down the line. Because I believe that, in a town where we have 5 liquor stores, perhaps there will be place for a dispensary or something of the sort, and it will help our tax base tremendously down the line. So I don't want to just say no and not here in River Edge, but if we're willing to at least research it and then debate it and decide with information before us, then I'm certainly willing to, for the time being, opt out.
Councilwoman Bastidt.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree with Dario. I think Mr. Sarlo has given us a lot to think about, but there's still a lot more to uncover and understand. But I would not be opposed to him drafting a ordinance to opt out at this time, knowing that we could opt back in as we take our time to learn more. I just had 1 or 2 questions maybe Tom Sarlo can answer regarding licenses. Are they capped based on population like liquor licenses are? Or if we say that we would allow cultivation, is it an unlimited number of licenses? Does that become part of our ordinance? How would that work?
So from what I understand, it's not going to be like liquor licenses where they're going to allow certain amount based on population for each town. It's going to be certain amount in the state. So they're
Okay,
going to give a certain amount of cultivation, certain amount of manufacturing, wholesale, retail. Retail is going to be 2 components, what they call micro businesses, which is a very small, less than 10 employees or something like that, and then larger. So the answer is no, it won't be on per. So if you allow 1 or 2 licenses, but there's no other licenses that they're all used by the state, and I'll get you more information on that, then the answer is even if you allowed it, you'd have to wait for either the state open it up for more licenses or to allow a license to come available where somebody then would move their operation to River Edge.
okay. And are there any fees that
So
the
even though
borough
by
would?
you allowing, let's say, 3 retail licenses doesn't mean automatically you allow 3 retail licenses.
Okay,
It still has to go to the state,
Got
to
it.
do that. So I don't know, the commission has not set they just formed the commission. So we don't know any of those, how many licenses are going to be given or any of that. The
Okay.
statute is silent on that. They're leaving that up to the Cannabis Commission.
okay. And are there, similar with liquor licenses, is there a fee that comes to the borough per license in addition to the tax revenue? And who
would
owns
be
that
able to
license
set-
then? They can transfer the license? I'm trying to get a sense of,
You'd be able to set an application license
okay.
by the borough.
Mhm.
So yes, you would be able to set the application license. Transfer license would all, again, go through the state.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I do think that we've been given a lot to think about, and I agree the planner should be consulted. We should understand if it's possible to understand what our neighboring communities, what type of facilities might be already accounted for in those facilities. I've heard that Rochelle Park is going to have a distribution site. I've heard Paramus is. It would be good to have that demographic information, I think. I think it'd also be interesting to know how River Edge voted for the legalization of marijuana in the last election. That would be good data to have. So having said all of that, I still would be okay with moving forward with drafting an opt-out ordinance, knowing that we could come back in when we have more information and when the licenses become available.
Very good. Councilman Gaudier.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe that your suggestion of that ordinance is a prudent course of action at this time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question for Tom Sarlo. So the opt-in, you've said several times, there is no timing on that. We can choose to opt in without any penalties. There's no sunsetting of that opting in, I guess.
That's correct. At any point in time, you could repeal your ordinance, which opts out, allow you to opt in. Once you opt in, then it's a 5-year. You have a 5-year lockout. You can't opt out for 5 years. So yes, you can opt in. You can opt in the next month if you want.
But understanding
after
that
you
you're
opt out.
binded by 5
so-
years once you do.
Once you opt in, you can't opt out for 5 years. And then anyone that gets a license within those 5 years, they have their license. Even if you opt out 5 years later, you are those licenses remain. They're grandfathered in.
Thank you.
Just so you guys know what I'm doing, obviously, with my other hat is we're leaning towards going forward with certain licenses, trying to be on the forefront. But what we did is we formed a committee to start thinking of things. Committee consisting of our planner, our borough attorney, our police chief, our 2 residents, and then the mayor and 2 council members. And that committee is coming up with what parts of town. We're actually leaning towards the industrial zone. What type of retail? We certainly don't want a consumption bar, which is basically you're allowed to smoke it right there. We just want like a retail, like it's a pharmacy. We're leaning towards cultivation. You're going to require probably. So I'm actually part of a legal team that is doing a cultivation license in Gloucester County, and they have 25 acres. So to really make money, you're going to need a large area. So the bigger companies are going to look for very large spots, and that's going to be down south, the western parts of New Jersey. Your manufacturer and your distributor, those are really just the middlemen. They're the ones that are packaging it, and then obviously reselling it to the other people. So there'll be no consumption and no sale to the public with manufacturers and distributors. The cultivator will take the plants, bring it to the manufacturer, which then they'll take the seeds out, they'll process it, and then you got your wholesaler, which will package it, and your distributor, which will then distribute it. So those licenses may not have as much of an impact to a borough because there's no really traffic. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody going to the store and actually selling it. So you guys down the line, if you want to consider including your public. Just a thought. Sorry if I overstepped on my.
You did not. You did not. The more
Thank you.
information we have, the better off we are.
Just want to give you guys a little bit more, because I heard what other towns are doing. So I just, want to, let you know what thing, because you get to the point where if your neighboring towns are doing it and they're making all this money, right? And it's going there, it's like, and it's working. And it's like, wow, they already have it. We're behind the 8 ball. And if we get it, well, are we not going to,
Right.
at that point with the licenses. So it's a very influx thing, but I agree with you. I think you're doing it good. Hey, we can opt in at any time.
Well, the council.
So on that note, Mr. Mayor, on that note, I would agree with your recommendation of passing that ordinance, provided that we, to Councilwoman Bastide, we do some learnings about our surroundings as well, what's happening, and do our homework before August 21st.
Just before, first of all, I want to apologize, Councilwoman Kaufman. I should have called on her in order of seniority. But before she does, there are other options. We could ask Mr. Sarlo. Creating the ordinance to prohibit does not mean the council has to take it up. It simply means that it's available for when the council should take it up. We can form a committee in between now and when that ordinance comes before us. And if we don't move that ordinance, it doesn't go stale. It just didn't get moved, and we can reconsider it at a further time. But I think having the ordinance ready is a prudent action. And the council may choose not to move the ordinance, but I think we should definitely, I personally feel that we should definitely have Mr. Sarlo create that ordinance while we consider, so that it's on the shelf, ready to go at a council meeting moment. Councilwoman Kaufman, I'm sorry I skipped you.
No problem. I'm comfortable with setting the ordinance up now so that it's available to us.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Thanks, Mayor. All my questions were asked and answered already, but I'm in agreement about the ordinance prohibiting at this time. But I would not be opposed to having license for this at a later date, after due diligence has been done, and especially as Councilwoman Bastide pointed out, what the residents voted on in the last election, those numbers.
Now, so this will just be a sense, and then so we're really going to do a straw poll on this, and Mr. Sarlo will then create it. But Mr. Sarlo, a couple of things for clarification's sake. I want to make sure I have these items correct. Regardless of whether we prohibit or not, the public by state amendment, I guess it was a state amendment, has the right to use recreational and municipal marijuana anywhere in the state, including River Edge, if we should prohibit it. Is that not correct?
That's correct. You cannot prohibit the consumption of it. You cannot prohibit the delivery of it to a resident.
That's right. So this ordinance, just for public edification, even if it should, if we took it up and passed it, is not denying is not denying the public from exercising their state rights, nor if we should consider something like distribution or one of those other licenses, or would this be considered an approval or a recommendation to the public? The public acts independent of what we would or would not do. What we're doing is creating or denying commercial opportunity in the borough. Is that not correct, Mr. Sarlo?
That is exactly what yes.
Okay. So because I know that people will begin to talk about this on Facebook and in other social media events. So the council is neither endorsing nor are they condemning or disapproving what is going on the state level. And that's why I had encouraged council not to debate the enforcement issue, because it's not before us at this time. Nor is it before us whether this is right or wrong, good or bad. The people have spoken, and so it is a legal event in New Jersey, and we are not commenting on that. Nor should the public perceive that we are commenting on that. We are simply considering what would be best for the borough, people of River Edge, the borough, at this time, and we are leaving ourselves the option open to reconsider. And so we are exercising our responsibility as public servants in this matter. Mr. Sarlo, did I correctly couch that?
Yes. Yes, you did. You correctly couched that. Absolutely. Again, I caution you, or I emphasize, please take action, even if we have ordinance ready. One way or the other, take action by August 21st.
Good. So I am open to a motion, a straw motion. So by unanimous consent. Let me rephrase that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, before we go to the motion or whatever we're going to do, the action, in light of what Mr. Sarlo said, I would also like to consider, even at this time, forming the committee so we can start exploring it right away. We don't have much time, and I agree, let's have Mr. Sarlo draft the ordinance, but let's also form the committee and let's get moving on the research, because things move very quickly.
Yes.
And August will be upon us before we know it.
I think that's very prudent, but I was going to break it into two pieces. So is there unanimous consent for Mr. Sarlo to draft an ordinance prohibiting all licenses? Is there unanimous consent? So this one I need for you to actually say yay or nay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any abstentions? Are there any opposed? All right, so Mr. Sarlo will task you with that, and if you could have that ready for the next council meeting. And Ms. Portela, we will not place that on the agenda unless the council wishes to. So at the next council meeting, put it on for discussion only, not for approval, simply to look at that language. Second, are there members of the council who wish to form a subcommittee? And this subcommittee would look for like-minded residents as well as others that, Mr. Sarlo, you did council, you did residents, you certainly did professionals. Am I leaving any of that out?
Yeah, no, we did the mayor and 2 council members. We did our police chief, our planner for the initial thing. We could certainly add to it, but we didn't want to make it too big.
Okay.
So that's what we have.
Councilman Kanigo, being on the land use board and the council president, I would recommend that you be one of the members for this committee. Are you open to that appointment?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other member of council? And if there are 2, I would be willing to step aside in favor of those 2. But if there is one other, or 2 who that feel strongly, who would like to join Council President Kanigo in this committee?
I would, Mayor.
Councilwoman Kinsella. Is there another, or would the council prefer for me? I really am very open to either. I would not feel that I needed to be there, or.
Mr. Mayor, I think you should be on it. I think you should be on it.
Is the rest of the council comfortable with it being Councilwoman Kinsella, Council President Kanigo, and myself?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
Yes.
Hearing no objection, we'll form that committee. Ms. Aprotella, can you please organize that committee to include, of course, both lieutenants, since we don't have a chief yet,
And
our planner.
Mayor, the BA is also on. I just assumed the
No, she would be on it too.
BA is part of the committee, obviously.
Yeah, I just want
Yeah.
her to send out all the invites. And I was wrong to that. Mr. Sarlo, would this be something that you as a borough attorney should be a part of or not? What are your thoughts?
I should be, yes. I should be part of the committee.
So
If you
Ms.
like, but I think from the legal side of it, yes.
Yes.
No, I
yes,
definitely
we-
want you there.
we
I was
want it.
hoping you would say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, good.
So, and I'm kind of, Mayor, to be honest, I'm going through it now, so we could kind of exchange notes.
Good.
As we go,
All right.
so
if the
I'll be happy
council
to
is
be
open to allowing myself and Ms. Aprotella to form the professional group, Mr. Council President and Ms. Councilwoman Kinsella, if you could think of residents that you think would be good as part of that, and I'll work with Ms. Aprotella and make sure we have professionals. I think we probably either want our health officer or our borough nurse. I think, of course, I think we should have perhaps Ms. Stinley, our land use attorney, or Mr. Chakowski to at least be at the first meeting, if not other meetings. And we can think about the rest. So Lizette, why don't you and I talk about that sometime this week, okay?
Mayor, just a quick question. How many residents would participate?
Mr. Sarlo said 2, but I would be open from 2 to 4. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Why don't you brainstorm and then reach out to myself or the BA as you might say, oh my goodness, we definitely want 5 or 6. You might say, no, we want to limit it to 2. We don't want the committee too unwieldy, but at the same time, we want to make sure there's appropriate public representation. Does that seem to cover everything, or are we all good with that sort of skeleton plan?
Yes.
All right. Why don't we also make it a commitment, Councilman Kinsella, Council President Kanigo, that we will do a weekly update. And without objection, I'll ask Ms. Appertella to put on the agenda for old business the committee, the committee as an item underneath old business for going forward through August 12th. So that if there's nothing to report, there's nothing to report. But if there is something to report, we will have a very visible reminder in our old business subcategories. Are we all good with that? All right, great.
Yes.
All right, so unless there is more comment, we'll move on to item B. Is there more comment? Okay, we're up to item B, Grant Committee, and Council President, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Yes, we had discussed the possibility of creating a committee that would be overseeing grants for various departments, obviously with the help and advice of our borough administrator, and to the extent necessary, any professionals. So I wanted to bring it to the council and see if we could get a couple of volunteers, perhaps 3 council people to be on the committee and just start taking action. I would recommend Councilwoman Kaufman as the finance chair to certainly be one of those individuals, and Councilman Gautier as well being on the finance committee. I'm going to step aside on this one because my plate has gotten quite full recently. So if there's somebody else who would also be on it, and just the idea being obviously that, again, we're facing a lot of coming expenses over the next few years. We want to try to minimize the impact to the taxpayer. And there's a lot of possibilities out there. Of course, we're always competing with a lot of other municipalities, boroughs, et cetera. But if we don't have, a good effort, we'll never get the money. So we need to pursue money that might be available on the county level, on the state level, even on the federal level, if possible. I know Congressman Gottheimer has on his staff individuals who are there to help constituents with such applications and grants, and they're a font of information, and I'm sure at the state level we have the same thing. So we just need somebody who is going to be dedicated, or a few somebodies who are going to be dedicated to follow up on this.
I'm happy to help with that.
Yes, I as well. Thank you.
I'd be happy to be a third person.
Great.
Okay, we're set then.
Michelle, will you take lead on that and work with Lizette and
Sure.
fantastic. Thank you all.
Okay, we are up to items, unless there's more comment. Hearing none, we are up to the state's health benefit deferral. Ms. Appertella.
Yes, this came up during the last budget meeting. A question arose regarding the health insurance premium. Because based on the materials provided, there was a certain amount that was budgeted, approximately $713,000. And at the time of the printing, $598,000 had been spent. And what it is that the borough has a 2-month lag in payments. The state health benefits program allows municipalities to have a 30-day delay, premium delay, or 60-day premium delay. So the bill that will be coming up on March 15th is actually the premium for January of 2021. So according to our CFO, there was discussion about seeking alternatives to the state health benefits program. And if at any time the borough opts to terminate coverage with the state, then that 2-month delay would be due immediately. But the CFO doesn't see a reason to pay off the premium delay immediately. It's an authorized payment schedule approved by the state, and the funds are reserved. He recommends that the borough hold on to the cash rather than send it to the state. And additionally, the best practices questionnaire, the inventory always asks if a municipality is a member of the state health benefits program. Answering in the affirmative helps get points to obtain the last state aid payment, and municipalities that answer in the negative, those points affect the ability to receive that last payment.
So given that, I think what's being recommended is that we just leave it the way it is, but it's open for debate. Does any member of council wish to debate, discuss, or inquire? Hearing none.
Mayor,
Oh, no, Mr.
I
Councilman
was,
Gaudier.
yes,
Councilman,
Mayor,
I'm gonna close the window as you're speaking. Go ahead.
sure. Mayor, I would just suggest we take our CFO's advice and go in that direction.
Is there agreement?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to assume yes. And we're going to move to item D, opening Borough Hall. So I'm not actually asking for us to open the doors wide. In fact, I'm not asking for us to unlock the doors at all. What I would like the council to consider formalizing is what our current practice already is. Our current practice has, especially since the reorg, that we've brought people in by appointment. So the door remains locked. They need to come to be sworn in. They need to sign their affidavits. They need to do something in the building department. The building department goes out, brings them in when necessary. So what I'm simply asking the council to do at this time is to formalize what we're already doing, and also what Ordell and New Milford and most of our other neighbors are doing, is that we would be open by appointment only, where the borough employee would set as needed and only as needed with the public. If it was needed for them to come in, that they would set up a time, the resident would come in into the lobby, and they would conduct whatever business is necessary and then leave immediately. And of course, this would be masked and according to all COVID protocols, which is what we're currently already doing. So if the council, it's open for debate or inquiry, but that's what this item is about, that any borough building, even the DPW or the police department, would be open for appointment, which is essentially what we're already doing. But the council would formalize it, and it would go on the borough website, and it would become a policy then of the council. So I open that for debate. Does any member of the council wish to debate or discuss it?
Mr. Mayor, just a question. Would you have a time frame on that? Or you would just say open by appointment until further notice?
Until further notice. And then if at any times we needed to reverse that policy, we would. Or if conditions improved and the council wished to expand that policy, that it could do that too. But as I said, it's just formalizing essentially what we're already doing.
I think it's a good idea to formalize it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, anyone else? All right, we're gonna do this by a motion in a second. Council President Kanigo, could you move it, and I'll leave it open to any member of council to second.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastood,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we now move to Riverdale's request to use Firehouse for flower sale. Ms. Appertella, I'm gonna close the other. I had to open both windows because our heating system up here we had a failure of, I think, the motherboard. They replaced it, but everyone had jacked up the temperature because it wasn't working too well. And it was about 100 degrees when I came in and I opened the windows, and now it's getting quite cold. So I'm just gonna step away for a second, but Ms. Appertella, if you could discuss that.
Yes. So I received a request from the Riverdale High School Softball Booster Club looking to hold their annual flower sale. Right now, the Firehouse is not permitting any activities either indoors or in their parking lot. So they're looking for permission to use the library parking lot, and this would be on Friday, April 2nd and Saturday, April 3rd. April 2nd is Good Friday, so the library would be closed. And this is their main fundraiser. They would set up in the morning, they take down the tents. At the end of their event, they would have masks, they would provide masks, they would adhere to social distancing. I was looking at the code, and I don't think it qualifies as a special event. It's not a large draw, it's not a parade or something that would attract more than 150 people in attendance. I reviewed this with our risk manager, and the risk manager advised that as long as the group fills out a hold harmless agreement and returns it with a certificate of liability insurance, he doesn't see why the event cannot be held as long as the governing body concurs.
I'm going to open this to any member of council who wishes to speak to this.
I spoke to the individual who asked for permission in the first place, and I asked him to check with our borough administrator. This is their main fundraiser. He assured me that they would be adhering to all COVID guidelines, social distancing, masking, etc. And they don't believe that it's going to draw large crowds at one time. You know, it's over the course of several hours. So, you know, certainly I think we should allow it.
Any other member of council?
I agree with President Canino.
Is it the library parking lot or the newer the new parking lot?
They wanted the new parking lot.
Yeah, that, I totally support that. I have no issue with that.
Agreed.
Agree.
Agree.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, it is unanimous. All right, before we move first let me see old business. Is there any old business or is there any non-listed new business? Okay, I have a proclamation in front of me that I don't see on the agenda but it's a Women History Month proclamation, and so let me read that. Let me see how the council wants to do it. It's not part of the agenda. Does the council wish me to read the proclamation Women's History Month into the record now, or shall we wait to our next meeting so that it be put on the agenda?
I thought it was on the amended agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I don't have a copy of the amended agenda. So,
I believe it's on the amended agenda.
all
Yeah.
right. So that was not afforded to me. So, all right. So it's on the amended agenda. So let me read this proclamation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions of the nation. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, specifically the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of women, American women in history have been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Thomas Papaleo, Mayor of the Borough of River Edge, In recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2021 as Women's History Month. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the Borough of River Edge to be affixed this March 8th, 2021, Mayor Thomas Papaleo. Could I ask Councilwoman Bastide to accept this as a founding leader of We Do and always an advocate for equal rights and women's rights?
It would be my pleasure, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. I will give this to the clerk and she will present that to you later. All right, we are now open to public comments. This is, the public may ask any question or make any comment. Could I have Councilwoman Kinsella and Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move in second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo?
Yes.
Councilman Goodyear?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen?
Yes.
Okay, we are now open to the public on any matter. I surrender the meeting to Councilwoman Kaufman.
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak or type it in the chat box. Or comment. Ken, 1 second. Ken Schuffenauer, you have been allowed to speak.
Great,
Ken, if
thank
you
you
can
very
state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Ken Schuffenauer, 780 Millbrook Road. Before I get to my main point for being on, just had a question as far as the Councilman Chinigo had just mentioned as far as the amended agenda, as far as including the proclamation. Not contesting the proclamation, but just as far as procedural process, as far as what was posted on the website does not have that amendment that Councilman Chinigo was referencing. So I'm just trying to find out as far as perhaps for other issues, as far as something being added to an agenda that the public sees or doesn't see, but it shows on your record. So I just have a question about that first.
Not Councilwoman, Miss Apratella, RBA.
Yes, this was a last minute amendment late in the afternoon. It was solely for a proclamation to be read into the record, but anytime there's any involvement for public comment, whether it's a resolution being added or an ordinance and whatnot, that is posted on the website, the revised version.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification. The main point of following you folks this evening was just, I know this week, we had the large participation last month's meeting as far as the KBG plans, and Carolyn Baldanza had reached out to some of the leagues and had us submit kind of our wish list for, as a circled around each of our programs for what we would like to see for KBG. And she had mentioned that it was the Ad Hoc Committee. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of insight or understanding as far as what the process with all of that will be going forward.
Mr. Mayor, I can speak to that.
Okay, yes, please.
All right. Yes, we have an ad hoc committee. We have just began to meet, and as you were promised, Ken, there will be meetings with all the individual groups that utilize those fields. We haven't scheduled those meetings yet. There's some preliminary matters that we need to vet within the council and the administration before we can go to those meetings. The purpose for asking you and all the organizations that are interested parties for the list is so that we can make sure that we understand what everybody is needful of, what some organizations not only needs are, but wants are, so we can really try to get a good idea of what everybody needs and wants, and everything can be taken into account. But you will be all called in to discuss this with the committee, and then once the committees have met and the professionals have spoken and plans are drawn, then there will also be public opportunities to comment and weigh in. So everything is going to be done, as we've said over and over, with utmost transparency, but we're at just the initial stages right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Just one final comment. One of the other topics was the posting for the curbing your dog. The weather is starting to get nice, and the new hockey rink is seeing increased activity. A little bit on the kids playing, but a little bit more on the four-legged friends side of the activity that goes on in the rink. So I would kind of just say try and move that as quickly as possible with the nice weather and the clocks changing. You'll see increased activity, and it's just a dirty area for when the kids. I know they've got the youth hockey program going on, and you kind of cringe a little bit when you know what else has been taking place earlier in the day.
Ms. Apatella?
Yes, actually, I spoke with the DPW superintendent today. He's finalizing the mock-up of the signs with the recreation director. And what they're working on is installing signs in several areas and to have a uniform sign. So that is a work in progress.
Good, great. I thank you very much for everybody's time this evening.
You're welcome, Ken. Thank you for coming.
Just have to find out how to mute myself here.
All right, Councilwoman, is there anyone else?
If anyone else has a question, just raise your hand or type it in the chat box and we will call on you. Does not appear that anyone else has a question.
All right, then, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Councilwoman Bastide to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, is not debatable, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we're up to council comments. I'm going to start with Councilwoman Kinsella.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I have no comments this evening.
Oh, I love those type of comments. Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second Councilwoman Kinsella. I just want to recognize the International Women's Day today, and I'm pleased to read that the proclamation was read into the record.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Happy Women's History Month and happy International Women's Day. Everyone, please continue to be careful and wear your masks when necessary, and be well and be safe.
Councilman Gaudier.
I concur with my other council people's comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Bastide.
No comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Kanigo.
Other than wishing all the women out there a happy International Women's Day and Women's Month, no comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I concur in wishing women worldwide empowerment, strength, support, and courage that has always been emblematic of women everywhere. Could I have a motion from Councilman Gaudier with a second from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes, good night, everyone.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.
Right.